Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Tech Talk. My name is Arnar Agerson, and today I'm going to talk about 4 ways to increase construction team performance. In the first part of our Tech Talk, we'll briefly go over the importance of having your entire project supply chain using the same system. Next, we'll detail 4 ways you can increase your team's performance. Then we'll go into a short live demonstration of ProjectWise Construction Management, and then at the end, we'll have a few minutes to answer any of the questions that may come up during the presentation. To increase team productivity, you first need to lay the groundwork by providing all participants with an organized way to communicate and share data. You don't want to use a system where participants are all managing their data and workflow separately, and where all documents and communications are sent through email and logs are manually maintained, because that makes things impossible to track reliably. What you want is a single system to connect the entire project team, the owner and construction manager, designers and contractors, sub-consultants, subcontractors, and any outside stakeholders. But why is this important? Well, by including all project participants in a single system, you can capture all project data at its source, and you can create an audit trail to keep track of who did what and when. You can build a single source of truth where all project data is stored in one place. You can also speed up reviews because you can electronically submit everything with a complete audit trail to whoever needs to review it, since you have everyone in your project within the same system. So now that we understand the importance of bringing together the entire project supply chain, we can think about how we can increase the team's performance. Today, these are the 4 strategies that we're going to cover. First, benchmarking and diagnosing team productivity, so you can know really what it is that needs to happen. Secondly, reducing review times for communications, because you want to make sure that your project runs smoothly and your role in the review has to take as little time as possible. Then we want to eliminate any document version confusion, because you want to make sure that everyone is working from the same blueprints, from the same documents and the same drawings. And then finally, we want to avoid any data entry errors or incomplete data that might cause problems when we're searching through documents or in the archive at the end. The first thing you need to do to increase team performance is to establish a benchmark for how fast your team is turning around common communications such as RFIs and submittals. Next, you want to determine where communications are getting held up. If your construction management system maintains an automated history, it's easy to see how fast your team is responding to questions and who is holding up the flow of communications. If you're tracking RFIs and submittals manually, then it's going to be more difficult to see where the bottlenecks are, but perhaps you'll still be able to determine a benchmark for the completed reviews. Some systems, such as Bentley's ProjectWise Construction Management, can let you run a report on ball and cord data, giving you a statistical value for turnaround times. So here we have a report that is directly exported from the system. It shows us some of the common document types or construction forms within the system and how long it takes us to get them through the system. So we can see what is the turnaround for our team. Once you have a baseline understanding of how communications are moving through your team, then you can start setting about the task of reducing those review times. Automated alerts, ball and cord history, and a review process with built-in redundancy can help you fight against stalled communications and delays. Automated alerts are an effective way to keep yourself and your team on top of project communications. You can set up email notifications to let you know that there is something in the system requiring your attention, or you can set up simple reminders to send out emails and notifications to certain team members when a document is approaching the due date. You can also use the ball and court tracking history to check up on specific items and then send a reminder to the person holding up that process. And having a system that tracks these communications within your entire team down to the very minute is great for pinpointing these bottlenecks. Sometimes the review process can become blocked when a project team member with approval responsibilities is unavailable. This can be due to a person being on vacation or if they just leave the project temporarily or permanently. And this could cause work stoppage, and that can be costly. So you want to make sure that you have redundant review processes to avoid these kind of situations. Having a construction management system that automates construction communications such as RFIs and submittals can save you and your team hundreds of work hours. As an example, on a recent $42 million project in Guam, GHD was able to save approximately 800 work hours in managing RFIs and submittals using their electronic construction management system. So there's a lot to gain for your construction team. Anybody who works in construction knows that the project is constantly evolving. It's common that construction documents are updated, drawings, and any plans. And these changes can introduce some confusion among the team and impact the team performance. And if you have no way to effectively track design versions, well, you run the risk of irreparable mistakes and costly rework. Also, poor tracking of submittals can lead to problems such as work delays. So having a construction management system with intuitive version tracking can help ensure that everyone is working from the most recent documents. Also, having mobile access in the field to the latest approved documents can boost team performance and eliminate any confusion that may arise. The last way to increase team performance that we're going to talk about today is to eliminate or streamline any manual processes that waste time or introduce errors in the project record. Having a predefined submittal master list can help avoid the problem of a team member introducing errors that will make documents difficult to find and search. These errors could be wrong subjects or wrong file names or any errors in metadata entry. Automation can also avoid many of these manual data entry errors as well as save you time. For example, weather data that can be automatically recorded from a local weather station. And you might not think that weather data was that exciting, but a good example of how we can use that successfully is on a project in Guam where the contractor submitted weather delay claims for a total of 202 days. The construction manager who was tracking the weather data automatically in their daily inspection reports was able to evaluate these claims and negotiate a time extension of 107 workdays instead of the 202 that were originally requested. So there's a lot to be gained here as well. And based on this automatically collected weather data, this extension was amicably accepted by both the contractor and the owner. So now we've established some ways you can increase team performance by benchmarking and diagnosing team productivity, reducing review times for communications, eliminating document version confusion, and avoiding data entry errors or incomplete data. And with that, I'm going to go into a live demonstration of ProjectWise Construction Management to illustrate some of these points. So here we are within the system. I am located here at the dashboard. You can see I just logged in through a web browser. Right now I'm using Mozilla Firefox, but you can use any other browser that you want that is currently supported, Google Chrome, Apple Safari, or Internet Explorer, or Edge. So really any modern web browser. So here on my dashboard, I can customize this as I want to get information that is relevant to me. And acting as the project manager on this project, I want to see how long it takes us to get documents to the system. So here, I'm looking at the same document metrics report that we saw earlier. It shows me here how long it takes us to get documents to the system, how many have we closed, how many have we pending, what is the average turnaround. So we can see that for submittals, it takes us now 54 days on average to get them through the system. Well, we have some other reports as well. So we can also see what is the minimum and maximum that is taken. So we can see that we do have a maximum submittal time of over a year. So maybe that is the reason we have such a high average. We can also get links to any of our reports. So if I want to see my reports to see what is what my team is doing with all my submittals, I have those here. So this is one of the built-in reports within the system. And these submittals here show me, the submittal report shows me here all the submittals, both those are pending and those that are closed. And I can also filter this. So if I wanted to see a report that only shows me the pending ones, then I can easily do that as well. Of those that are pending, I can see who they're pending on. So here we've got one that is pending on the construction management firm, which is the organization that I am working for right now. So we can see when it was submitted, who submitted it, how long it has been outstanding, and if there's a due date, we can see what is the due date for us as well. There is a lot of other data that you can include here, so you can include in your report and customize these as you want and share them across your team if you want. So I can just click on any of the documents in there and just be redirected here into the work module to see my submittal. So this is a submittal. It was submitted by the contractor. We can see that it is due here on April 5th. And we have here, it is pending on us. Well, I think this is something that our external consultants and some other people need to review. So I have created a design review group. And I can send it on here. And I have a design review group, and that group includes multiple people. So I can say, I want to assign this to this particular group. Let's give them another due date. So let's say they only have, they have a week less than I do, and their priority is high. So we can see that right now it's just pending on us, and we send it on. And as soon as we send it on, these users are going to get notifications. So we can see it's pending on the external consultant, and more specifically, it's pending on this particular user. So we know exactly who it is that is responsible for the document at this time. They have a due date here on the 29th, even though ours is on the 5th. So we can easily keep track of where the document is and who is responsible for it at this time. We can also see a document history. So if I click on the history here, I can see exactly what has happened. So I can see by sending it on to the design review group, I send it on to other people than just this particular user. I also sent it on to another person within the external consultant group, as well as to anybody within the construction management firm. These submittals can also have links. So first, links to attachments. So here we have multiple attachments within the same submittal, as well as any links to other documents. So I can link this to drawings, so I can easily go back and forth to see the connections to these documents. So if I click on the drawing here, I'm redirected into the drawing module, and it shows me that very clearly this is an old version of my drawing. And it gives me a link to the new revision. So the new revision here, we can see why it was changed, and it links back to that RFI that started that change. It has some files, and if I want to see more details about why this change started, I can actually just click on this RFI and see that. So I'm back into the work module, going into the RFI, and this is going to save your team a lot of time just going back and forth and understanding exactly what it is that happened and what it is that started all of that. So if I go back into the submittals, I can easily approve this. So if I have the right permissions, I can approve this document. We can also set up an approval process. So if you want to have 3-4 people approve it in that order, then you can easily manage that as well. So before the approval is finalized, then we can have multiple people approve it as well. So these submittals, you can see that the submittal number here is 260500. It has a subject as well. And to speed up and make sure that there are no data entry errors, you can actually have a submittal master list. So when the contractor is entering information, they do not have to start from scratch. So by clicking New here, I actually get to a list. So it shows me what is the number of the document, what is the subject, what needs to be included, the priority, what is the anticipated submit date, and who is responsible for it. So if I want to click on any of these and submit that, it's already filled out some of the information. So it's filled out the document number, so I'm never going to lose that. It's filled out the subject, and it tells me exactly what it is that I want to that needs to be included in here, and I can also specify spec sections that this needs to be linked to. So you can easily keep all of that data included in the submittal master list. So the contractor only needs to submit the documents that have been previously agreed upon. And then if you have changes and you need to add to that list, that is not a problem either. So you can just add items to that list as needed. The last thing I wanted to go into was the weather data and the daily inspection reports. So the daily inspection reports, which can be filled out using tablets in the field, are created here. So we have a daily log tab. It tracks exactly who creates it, when it was created, what was being performed. So first, general description, then any safety visitors and environmental, or any other things that you want to include. So if you want to include any field conditions or anything like that, then we can easily accommodate that. It automatically tracks the weather. So there is a weather station that is going to be connected to your project, and automatically we're going to be grabbing information for that certain date to your daily inspection reports. And if the weather has, let's say there is rain before noon and it's sunny afternoon, then you want to make sure you can track that. So you can just make 2 items here to track the weather before and afternoon, just however you want to do that. You can also track any activities. So what was going on in the field, how many people were in the field, what equipment was being used, and then upload any photos. So all of that you can easily keep track of. So what we've gone into today is we've shown you how you can benchmark and diagnose your team's productivity by using the dashboard and the document metrics here, as well as the submittal reports and other reports in the system. We've looked at how we can reduce review times for construction communications by using the ball and core tracking in the reports, and then setting up these send groups and assigning documents to different people and using the audit trail to make sure that we are keeping track of everything. We've shown you how you can eliminate document version confusion by looking at the revision controls of drawings and how all of that is linked back to the original documents that led to this change. And then we've seen how you can avoid data entry errors and get better data by using a submittal master list or capturing automated data from weather stations that are close to your project. And that was all I wanted to go over today. I really hope you learned something, and I'm going to hand it back over to Natalie for a sales poll.
Great. Thank you, Arnar. And at this time, I'll hand it back over to Stephen and Arnar for Q&A.
Great. Okay. I'd like to encourage our audience to submit their questions. We have a few here. Arnar, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Great. Okay, our first question is, who is responsible for adding new users to the system? For example, subcontractors.
Mhm. So adding new users to the system can be the responsibility of whoever is managing that organization. So I'm actually going to go into the report here, and I'm going to show you an organization report because this is how the project is built up. We do have what we call distributed administration. So we have the construction management firm. They add the contractor, but they don't have to manage any of the subcontractors. So the contractor would be responsible for adding subcontractors and adding users or give the subcontractors permissions to do that. And if they run into any problems, then they can always come to our support team directly and we can help them with that.
Great, thank you. Next question is kind of in the similar topic. It's talking about how are permissions controlled for users? Can you give different levels of permissions for different types of users?
Yes. So permissions are going to be controlled on 3 different levels, really. So first is on the organization level, which means that creating an organization, you can say the contractor should be able to do this, this, and this, but not this. So that allows you to give them certain permissions, and you can use permission templates. The second way is to do that on a user level. Certain users can do certain tasks, but others cannot. So you can keep track of all of that very easily. And the third way is on the document level. So the document itself needs to be shared for you to be able to see it. So if I do not share something with the contractor just would not see it. But I could share the same document with the owner or the external consultant, and they would have access to it. So permissions are extremely controlled, and it's easy for you to manage all that.
Great, thank you. Next question. Can you show how alerts are configured?
Yes. So we did go into the alerts a little bit. I just briefly mentioned them. So there are 2 ways for alerts to be generated. The first way is just to automatically set up notifications for yourself. And the second one is to create alerts based on rules. So here I have a rule for my submittal master. So if I click edit, I can actually see who to notify. So I can say, okay, is it on the document process or is it on the submittal master? And I want to make sure that the contractor gets 1 day after after the anticipated submit date, they will get an email notification. So I can check here and say, okay, everybody in that organization is going to get notified. Or if I just want to have a single user, then I can just say that George Cole, the contractor, has to be notified by email. So that allows you to automatically keep track of this. The second way to do it is based on the document process, and then you can create alerts based on how long the documents have been outstanding. So if you want to say, I want to be notified anytime an RFI is 2 days until 2 working days until or past due date or until, then we can easily allow you to do that. So you can set up these alerts and remind the people that need to see them.
Okay, can you show an example of what the ball and court history looks like, for example, for an RFI?
Mm-hmm. So the ball and court history is what we went into earlier. So here I'm looking at it actually at a submittal level. And this is the submittal that we were looking at earlier. And we can see who creates it, who submits it, reads it, who forwards it, and if they read it as well. So you can easily keep track of all of that as well. So we know exactly when things were sent and who was assigned to.
Great. Can you create custom reports based on the system data?
Yes. So the custom reports here are So the reports here are either out of the box or customized. So here I have my out of the box, and there are about 100, and then I can just copy or edit them. So if I want to create a new one, I can either create new or from scratch or just copy the one I have. And then I can pick whatever it is that I want to see. I can filter it however I want. Perhaps I only want to see something from the contractor, or I only want to see documents pending on certain organizations. So I can easily keep track of that. An example of an organization level report that I just created is here, all pending on org. So it shows me all documents that are pending on my organization. So I can run these reports to show documents that are pending on either certain organizations or certain users. So we can easily keep track of who's holding up the flow of communications.
Okay, looks like we have some last questions that have come in, and I think we have a few minutes to accommodate them.
Okay.
So this says, do you have to wait for all reviewers to approve before it gets returned to the contractor?
No. So if you do have, if you do set up a multi-approval and one of the approvers rejects it, then it goes to the contractor. So if one of the approvers rejects the document, then it is just not going through the, it's not going to finish the approval cycle. So that way it's going to go back to the contractor. So there is no need to wait for everybody to confirm that it has been rejected. If one of them just rejects it, then that's it for that cycle.
Okay. We have another one regarding drawings. How are drawings and specs linked to submittals?
So when you're creating a submittal, then let's say here I'm just looking at the access doors. When I'm creating a submittal, I can say, as the construction manager, I can say, well, there needs to be a link to a specification or a drawing. So here I just add that. I pick specification, and here I go into that section. So I want to see this, and I link it to this particular spec section. So that's how you would link the specifications to the submittal, and you would do the same for the drawings. So you'd pick the drawings, go into the folder structure, pick the drawings, and make sure that that's the right one. So it's extremely easy, and you can upload both using batch uploads. So if you need to upload all the spec section at once, then you can do that using the batch upload tool.
Okay. We have another question. Is it possible for videos to be part of the report?
So if you want to do, and I assume that's going to be for the daily inspection report. So I have photos here right now on my report, but I could upload any file that I wanted. So if I want to upload a video, then I can just do that as well. So I would just upload that here as well. So no problem.
Looks like we may have lost Arner's connection. Hi, Arner, are you back with us? Well, it looks like we may be having a little bit of technical difficulty. Let me check in with Natalie Caldwell. Natalie, are you there?
Yep, thanks, Stephen. Well, as Stephen mentioned, it looks like we may be having some technical difficulties hearing Arne right now. So if we did not answer your question, we definitely will follow up with you after the fact. So I want to give a big thank you to Arne for his presentation, and a big thank you to all of you for your questions and participation. You'll find the link to today's presentation on our YouTube channel and in the follow-up email. Please provide us with feedback on today's webinar by filling out a brief survey, which will be launched at the conclusion of today's session. And remember, if you watch the webinar with a group, you'll be able to provide a list of additional participants following the presentation. Thanks again, everyone.